The elites found a way to make money disappear. They managed to figure out a way to hide their money, assets, and basically all their valuables from the public. Well, you may say it's normal. I mean, who doesn't hide these things? But unlike us, who use piggy banks and wardrobes to hide our money and valuables, these elites developed a very complicated and secretive system that they used to hide these things. You see, this system went on for ages until 2021 when it got leaked, and we saw how the elites were hiding a whopping sum of $32 trillion. This leak exposed a whole lot, from money laundering to financial trickery and tax evasion at its peak. This leak is what is known as the Pandora Papers. And although it's a really complex phenomenon, by the end of this video, you'll become a Pandora expert. Without wasting any more time, let's get straight into it. So, the Pandora Papers are a combination of bank statements, emails, and a whole lot of other financial records. In all, a combination of about 11.3 million files obtained from 14 offshore service providers. But you see, this leak is not just to add spice to the news or give us something new to talk about. It was really problematic. Having $32 trillion hiding in secret is just insane. That amount completely surpasses the global economies. Take GDP for instance. The US is the country with the highest GDP, and it's around $25 trillion, which is a couple of trillion short. But GDP is not the only cause for alarm, given that these assets are acquired and stored in secret. Loss of taxes for governments in different parts of the world is inevitable. I mean, you can't tax what you can't see, right? But the thing is, the government needs these taxes. They desperately need them to provide social amenities and necessities for citizens. So you see, this isn't just about the $32 trillion. It's also about the huge opportunity that governments all over the world missed at improving the lives of people in their respective territories. Now, to fully understand how the elites went about this shady system, we need to properly understand the role of offshore service providers, or as they are also publicly known, offshore havens. So these havens are the ones that handle the secret storage. They are a group of territories and countries that offer special services to these elites who are looking for secrecy and minimal taxation. But trust me, these offshore havens become a lot more interesting when you consider the unique mode of operation they use to ensure the secrecy of their clients. So one thing they do is open shell companies for their clients. These shell companies are literally empty. They don't perform any business operations, but they do own property, bank accounts, and other assets. And the insane thing is, the true owners of these companies are hidden. They are hidden behind paperwork or sometimes nominees that just act as figureheads. But these havens don't just use these shell companies, they also use trusts. This trust system is a bit more complicated. With this system, the elites can legally transfer ownership of their properties to a trustee. With this transfer, it becomes very difficult to trace the ownership of these assets to the real owners. As you can see, these havens provide very attractive offers to the elites. By utilizing these structures, the elites have a lot to gain. A major gain is the tax avoidance. Unlike the huge taxes that the elites would normally have to pay on their assets and incomes in their home countries, these offshore havens provide lax taxation regulations and minimal taxation. Think of it like the havens saying, hey, keep your assets with us and you don't have to pay as much tax as you'll normally do. The tax evasion aside, these havens also act as protectors of assets. They act like shields against political instability, lawsuits, and creditors. This is how they act as protectors. Imagine you are a wealthy person who has his property saved in an offshore account. You won't be able to access his assets because they aren't even in his name in the first place. And you most likely don't even know he had such assets because they are in secret. Now that you know what these offshore service providers do and offer, it's compulsory we debunk a popular perspective about them. Some people don't see anything wrong with the activities and offers of the offshore havens. To them, it's just another smart way of saving. But the thing is, although on the part of the elites there isn't any downside, it still isn't right, because it exploits loopholes in international taxation. Aside from the government losing huge revenue that can be beneficial to their citizens, it also isn't fair on the part of the public, because while the normal person is forced to follow normal taxation protocol, these elites are avoiding it. That's a huge imbalance right there. Lastly, it creates avenues for illegal practices due to the secrecy that surrounds it. But fortunately, this didn't remain a secret, as in 2021, it all got leaked, and the whole world got to know about these dirty deals. Looking at how it got leaked, we have the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ, to thank for that. The ICIJ was founded in 1992, and it had two major missions: to expose illegalities and hold big establishments accountable. This organization is made up of journalists from over 100 countries. They have a history of bringing to light injustice, corruption, and financial illegalities. And in 2021, they made headlines again when they dropped a huge bombshell with the release of the Pandora Papers. The financial world got one of its biggest shocks with this news. In 2021, they received 11.3 confidential documents from an anonymous source. These documents were not just scattered, random documents. They were from 14 offshore havens that helped the elites open shell companies and trusts, and basically set up different financial structures that helped them with their shady business. The leak compromised bank records, bank statements, invoices, and a couple of other financial records. With these leaks, we got to know about the people and entities that patronized the services of the offshore. The leak also shed light on the type of assets, investments, and cash deposits that were held on these offshore accounts. And also we gained insights into the methods these offshore service providers use to carry out their operations. It took the ICIJ a whole lot to dissect and comprehend these leaks. In fact, they had to bring in about 600 journalists from over 100 countries. And not just the efforts and personnel. It took them many months to go through the documents, properly verify the information, and pull all the pieces together. But when they finally did, a whole lot got exposed. And not just corporations, but individuals. But let's talk about the juicy part: the type of individuals that got exposed. National leaders featured prominently in the leaks. About 35 of them got exposed. Some of them are King Abdullah II of Jordan, former British Prime Minister Tony Blair, Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati, Chilean President Sebastian Pinera, former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta, and a couple of others. Believe me, after these guys got leaked, questions started popping up from different parts of the world. These leaders were all placed on hot seats, but they were not the only types of politicians who got exposed. The leaks also showed that some politicians facing accusations of corruption had some assets hidden offshore. With this discovery, already existing suspicions received new fuel, and now broadly painted offshore service providers as money laundering supporters. Some elected officials from different parts of the world also got exposed. Emir of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, President of Ukraine Vladimir Zelensky, President of the Republic of Congo Denis Sassou Nguesso, former President of Gabon Bongo Ondimba, former President of Ecuador Guillermo Lasso, and a couple of others. These elected leaders used the offshore accounts mainly to avoid taxes on their income. But after getting exposed, they lost the public trust, at least to some extent, and also caused concerns to be raised about the fairness of the tax system. But enough of politicians. Let's talk about the celebrities that also got their hands dirty. This is perhaps the most shocking part, as some singers, actors, and athletes got exposed. Some of them are Shakira, John Elton, Monica Bellucci, Ringo Starr, Claudia Schiffer, Julio Iglesias, and a few others. These celebrities used offshore services to minimize their tax burden on their earnings from performances, endorsements, and investments. But not all of them had bad intentions. You see, some celebrities really value their privacy and just want to live a low-key life. They don't want the noses of journalists all in their business, so they turn to offshore havens for help. But the thing is, no matter the motives behind the moves, the fact remains the same. Anything stopping you from paying your fair share of taxes should be frowned at. And for these celebrities, it gets more personal because their wealth came from public support. Moving on, business tycoons and corporations also featured in the Pandora Papers, and I'm sure that did not catch anyone off guard. You see, these businesses and business tycoons have one thing in mind, and one thing only: profit maximization. And that is where things get interesting, because these profits are what the government is supposed to tax. So it becomes a clash between a set of people who will do anything to keep all their profits intact and the government that needs to tax these profits. And of course, there are offshore havens to come to the rescue. With the help of offshore accounts, these businesses and tycoons can hide their profits from the government. Well, part of it actually. A legal business can't hide all its profits from its government. Nevertheless, these businesses were able to stash a huge part of their wealth in havens, and thanks to the secrecy that surrounds the offshore havens, were able to keep their true tax practices a secret. But you know the funny thing? The exposure of these individuals or companies does not mean a straight-up justifiable reason for their arrest or punishment of any sort. But there is punishment for those who have not liked this video already. Nah, I'm just kidding. There's no punishment. But come on, you've managed to stay this long. You're definitely enjoying this video. How about you support the channel with a like? And if you haven't, hit the subscribe button. There's a lot more coming. So back to it. You see, having an offshore does not make you a criminal or necessarily a bad person. In fact, there are numerous legitimate reasons why people acquire offshore accounts. Don't worry, I'll walk you through these reasons. A major factor that prompts many to create offshore accounts is the need to protect assets from economic and political instability. This one mainly has to do with people who have their business based in unstable territories. Having their assets saved in other, safer territories adds that extra layer of security to their assets. But that's not all. There are other reasons. Offshore accounts also provide a more seamless platform for investing in and managing foreign markets. With this, investing in foreign opportunities in stocks, real estate, and bonds becomes easier and more rewarding. So the real question is, where or when does it become illegal? You see, there are two things to consider. There is tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance has to do with usage of legal methods to reduce tax burden. Some of these methods include investing in tax-advantaged accounts. Funny enough, offshore accounts can help with this, and utilizing tax deductions. Yeah, you probably already figured this is the legal path. Tax evasion, on the other hand, is straight up illegal. It's the deliberate act of hiding assets and income from the tax authorities to avoid paying tax, either completely or partly. But what I want you to know is this: having an offshore account does not automatically put you in the same sentence as tax evasion. The best way to go about owning offshore accounts and still staying legal is by disclosing all offshore accounts to tax authorities. Many countries have made it mandatory to do this, and failure to do so can lead to penalties like fines and imprisonment. The whole idea is, don't be secretive about it. If you truly have no intention of avoiding tax, you should not hide your offshore accounts. Also, you should also pay taxes on your offshore income, and income generated from offshore assets like interest, capital gain, and dividends should be properly accounted for, and necessary tax should be paid to the tax authorities. The tax authorities, after realizing that a whopping sum of $32 trillion was being held by the elites after the release of Pandora Papers, have started taking necessary steps to consistently check offshore accounts, and are consistently revising and reviewing tax laws to ensure that there are no loopholes in the system. As this video comes to a close, we see that having offshore accounts is not really the problem, but the secrecy that comes with them. Imagine $32 trillion being kept in the dark. These elites really would do anything to keep their wealth hidden. But what do you think about offshore service providers? Given that they provide beneficial and legal services, but are still used by bad people for evil purposes, are they doing more harm than good? Let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't. Enjoy the rest of your day.